All right, so this is some test taking tips on graphing points and lines, the Keystone review. All right, so hope up here when it says which point satisfies the equation 2x plus 3y equals 8, what they're asking you to do, Hope, is to simply label your points and then plug them in, okay? So did you do this problem?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, while you're looking up what answer you picked, I'm going to go ahead and align my board. So Hope, which one did you go with?
D.
You went with D? And why did you go with D? Okay. So you labeled them X, Y, and then you plugged it in, and you got D. So hopefully, I'll be done this in a second. All right, so you said X, Y. All right, so you got 2 times -2, that's -4, plus 3 times 4, that's 12, and you got 8, and you did. Nice job. Easy, right? All right, Neve, when it says which point lies on the graph of the equation 3x plus y equals 9, what do you think that means?
The answer is wrong because I think the answer is incorrect.
Okay. Now, Neve, these two questions are exactly the same.
Because that one says satisfied, so that one is figuring out the answer, but lies means that you're figuring out the answer is correct.
Okay, so I see how you're interpreting the word lies, but they're actually talking about like lies on. Okay, like if something lies on, it's like on it, right? So we're talking about which one is on the graph, not which one is like fibbing to it. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to plug these points in and see which one. And you said the answer would be?
I think if that's it, the answer would be D.
It is D. All right, because we're going to label it X, Y. So we're going to have 3 times 0. That's 0 plus 9, and that does equal 9. Nice job with that. All right, so these two questions are exactly the same, Harshan. Exactly the same. All right, Liam, the equation of a line is y equals mx minus 1, right? Find the value of m. What is m? M is the slope, right? So we're looking for the slope here. Now, do you know how to do this problem? Yes, you do. It's just like number 1 and number 2. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in these numbers for x and y. So y is 3. So we have 3 equals m we're looking for times 2 minus 1. So you can think of it this way, Liam. What number minus 1 is 3? 4. And 2 times what is 4? So you can work through it that way to get your answer is m equals 2. Or we could add 1 to both sides. That gives us 4 equals 2m. And then we divide by 2. All right. Kevin, if K3 is a point on the graph of the equation of the line x plus 2y equals 8, what is the value of K? What do you think I'm going to do with number 4?
Okay.
Plug it in. So I'm going to label this x, y. Remember those steps I gave on that board over there, Kevin, right above your head? The first one was label, right? Write your equation, which is given to us. And then it was to plug it in, correct? That's what we're doing. So we're going to have K plus 2 times 3 equals 8. Kevin, what's 2 times 3? 6. So K plus 6 equals 8. What would K be? 2. Easy enough, right? I think these are a lot easier, Jordan, than the ones we were doing previously, correct? Sophia, what would you do for number 5?
And then I wrote out the equation.
So I put it in 6. So you got 2a equals -4 and a equals -2. Nice job. Pretty straightforward here, right? All right, remember, anytime you're given a point, you always want to label and then plug it in. And, all right, and then solve. So what is the y-intercept of the graph of the equation? Y equals 1/4 x minus 2/3. Nate? Very good. Remember, the y-intercept is that number without the x. The number with the x, Liam told us, was our slope. Okay? All right, what are the coordinates of the point where the graph of the equation x plus 2y equals 8 crosses the y-axis? All day. You got any idea for that? All right. I actually am really glad you chose C. Okay. There's a few things I want to go over with you. One, all day. When it says crosses the y-axis, right? The value for x is what? 0. So that means if I look up here, I'm looking for the points where x is 0. Do you see how B, x is not 0? And D, x is not 0? In B, x was 8, and in D, x was 4. Do you see that? So now it's a 50-50 shot, right? And guess what? It's exactly the same as number 1 and number 2. We can label it and then plug it in, right? So we have 0 plus 2 times 4 equals 8, and 8 equals 8, and you're right, okay? But I'm trying to kind of tell you, all right, what I want to do is I don't want to just like say this is how we do it. What I want to do is I want to give you test taking strategies. Like, hey, for an x-intercept, y is 0, right? That's why we wrote that. That was like part of the cover-up method. Okay, so if we're trying to find the y-intercept, it's when x is 0, I would cover up x, and I have 2y equals 8, right? And y was 4, right? Y is 4 now. Okay, and then some of the ways to kind of help you out is, hey, y-intercept, x is 0, so B and D can't be it. All right. Sophie, number 8, the graph of the equation x plus 3y equals 6 intersects the y-axis at what point? You said A. All right. So here, first thing you're going to do is I'm going to cross off D because it says y-axis. That means x is going to be 0, right? So you're going to cross off any one that doesn't have x as 0. And you said A, and you were right. Because if I plug in 2 for y, I have 0 plus 3 times 2, that's 6, and 6 equals 6. Nicely done. All right. Let's go with Jordan. Number 9, the graphs of the equations 4x minus y equals 6 and x plus y equals 4 intersect at a point whose coordinates are what? Now, do you know what it's asking here? It's asking you to find the point where they cross, right? Where they're balanced. How did you do this? So you like labeled it, right? And then plugged it into each one. So Jordan labeled it, okay? So she plugged in 2 for x, and she has 4 times 2. That's 8 minus -2. Well, minus the negative, that's a positive. So 8 plus 2 is 10. So because it didn't work out here, you can cross out A. Now, the one thing I want to go over, Jordan, that might help you out a little bit is you're perfectly welcome to do that. You're perfectly welcome to label your points and plug them in and see which one works for both, right? But the one thing I don't want you to forget is this. Solving the system of equations, right? Through elimination. Do you remember this? All right. Notice, Jordan, the y's are opposites, right? Opposites. Do you remember the word we used? Opposites. Anybody? Okay. Because of the y's are opposite, I'm going to add these two equations. So when I do that, negative y plus y, they cancel. 4x plus x is 5x. 6 plus 4 is 10. X equals 2. Now, Jordan, do you see how I have x is 2? X was 2 up here, but we already eliminated that. B, x was 5. C, x is 1. All right, so we get D. That's the same one you got, right? Okay. Do you guys see how I did that? Jordan did plug it in. The answer has to be there. It's the one that balances out. And I went through and I used solving systems of equation through elimination. Okay. So up here, first thing I would do, all right, ready, Delaney? I have 2x plus y equals 8. And I have x minus y equals 4. Do you see that, Delaney? Do you see how the y's? Do you see how the y's are opposites? Opposites add. 2x plus x is 3x. Agreed, Delaney? The y's cancel. And 8 plus 4 is 12. Do you see how I get x equals 4? Now, up here, x equals 0 in A, in C, x equals -4, and D, x equals 5. There has to be B. Drew, how do we find the slope? X1, Y1, X2, Y2. And then really close. It's going to be 3 minus 5 over 7 minus 4. Okay. It's going to be rise over run. So y's over x's. Okay. And if you forget, Drew, I want you to turn to the very front page of the Keystone book. All right. Do you all see how on the very front it says the slope formula? Right? Do you see that? So you can always reference that if you forget. It's there. Right? Or at least it should be there. So here it's going to be -2 over 3. All right. The slope of the line determined by the points -3, 2, and 2, -3 is what? So the only way to do this problem is actually just to label it and to write it out. So we have -3 minus 2 over 2 minus -3. 2 negatives make it positive. So we have -5 over 5. And that's -1. All right, Kanye. with 13, remember, before we say, hey, the number next to my x is my slope, I need to make sure I get y by itself. Kanye, is y by itself in this one? What's with the y? What, 5? How do I get rid of that times 5? How do you undo multiplication? Divide. So which one has 2 over 5 as my answer? A, B, C, or D? So remember, for these, you have to get y by itself. Which equation represents a line with the slope of -2? Nate? Which one has a slope of -2? B. When y is by itself. All right, see how y is by itself? Then the number next to the x is my slope. The slope of the graph of the equation x equals 3 is what? Emma. Emma at home.
Yeah,
What is the slope of a line that's x equals 3?
3.
Okay, this one's a trick question. Because it's not going to be 3. All right, notice there's no y here, so this is a vertical line. Okay, so let's put a star next to this. And let's write vertical line. And the slope is going to be undefined. Okay, Emma? This one's tricky. 'Cause
Okay.
it doesn't come up too often, and we can't even put them in our calculator. All right, I'm going to stop there.